For centuries, the legends of Earth and its people were dismissed as little more than myths. The great galactic civilizations spoke of them in hushed tones, but no one truly believed. Earth, a small and insignificant planet located in a faraway corner of the galaxy, was said to have been home to a race of beings, humans, who were once powerful, intelligent, and full of promise. These humans, according to the old tales, had mastered space travel and built great fleets, spreading their influence across the stars. But one day, without warning, they disappeared. No one knew why. Some said they had reached the limits of their potential, leaving behind only ruins and whispers. Others claimed the humans had destroyed themselves in a catastrophic war. But regardless of the theory, Earth and its people were forgotten, their memory fading from the stars like a distant dream. The galaxy moved on. Powerful species like the XL9, the Turgan, and the Vontros took their place in the galaxy's great councils and alliances. The galaxy thrived, expanding its borders and shaping the future without any thought of the long-lost humans. Earth was a myth, a story that had been passed down by a few old races, but nothing more. It was regarded as nothing more than a fairy tale, a cautionary tale, perhaps, but nothing of real substance. That was until something changed. It began as a whisper, a small disturbance in the galaxy's core, one that went unnoticed by most. But to those who were paying attention, it was impossible to ignore. Alien scouts from the Vontros, known for their deep space exploration, reported strange readings coming from a section of space far beyond any known star systems. At first, it seemed like a minor anomaly, something that could be easily dismissed. But as more ships passed through the area, the signals grew stronger. And then something more unexpected happened. A fleet of ships appeared in the farthest reaches of known space, ships unlike any seen before. They were massive, sleek, and powerful, unlike anything the galaxy's most advanced civilizations could have built. The first contact was made by a scout ship, which sent a message back to its home world. It spoke of the ship's appearance, their structure, and most importantly, their origin. The ships were coming from Earth, a place long thought to be a myth. The message caused a stir throughout the galaxy. The news spread quickly to the ruling councils, to the powerful intergalactic factions who held dominion over vast sectors of space. There were whispers in the corridors of power, in the high council chambers, and in the halls of the great fleets. Earth, the forgotten world, was real. At first, many scoffed. Earth was a myth after all. How could such a small planet, one so far removed from the center of the galaxy, be the origin of such a fleet? The notion was absurd. The thought of humans, a species that had been lost for eons, having not only survived but built such advanced technology, was inconceivable. The galaxy was filled with intelligent species, but humans. No one had seen or heard from them for hundreds of thousands of years. It simply didn't make sense. But the evidence was undeniable. Ships from Earth had appeared on the radar, their weapons systems unmatched by anything the galaxy had ever seen. The first few ships, small in number, had come silently into the galaxy, unnoticed by most. But now, they were here. The fleet was vast, and it was headed straight for the core of the galaxy, the heart of galactic power. The Galactic Council, which represented the major powers of the galaxy, convened immediately. All their intelligence, all their best minds, were focused on trying to understand what was happening. Was this some kind of hoax, a trap set by a hidden race or a powerful weapon? Could Earth's mythological fleet really be returning to the galaxy after all this time? The council leaders gathered, their holographic faces tense as they discussed the implications. "It's impossible," said one leader, his voice filled with disbelief. "The humans were wiped out centuries ago. There's no way they could have survived, let alone rebuilt a fleet of this magnitude." Another leader, more cautious, offered a different view. What if the myths are true? What if Earth's fleet is not a myth but a lost civilization's final legacy? We cannot afford to ignore this. If these ships are indeed from Earth, then we are facing an unprecedented threat. The debate raged on for hours, but one thing was certain: the galaxy had underestimated the humans. And now, they were about to find out what they had forgotten. The Galactic Council, composed of the most powerful species in the galaxy, began to plan for the worst. They were not about to let some forgotten race rise up and challenge their rule. Earth had been a myth for so long, but now that it was real, they had to be prepared. Back on Earth, the situation was vastly different. The people who had survived the collapse of their ancient civilization had kept to themselves, hidden away in secret enclaves beneath the surface of the planet. For centuries, they had lived in isolation, keeping the ancient knowledge and technology of their ancestors hidden, waiting for the right time. And now, it seemed that time had come. The first ships that appeared on the radar were just the beginning. Soon, Earth began to reveal its hidden fleet, ships powered by ancient technology that was centuries ahead of anything the galaxy had ever seen. The fleet's arrival caused shockwaves throughout the galaxy. These ships, though old, were formidable, built to withstand the most extreme conditions of space. They were equipped with energy weapons that could rip through the shields of even the most advanced alien warships. They were designed for war, and they had come to reclaim what was theirs. No one knew exactly how Earth had survived, or how its people had managed to maintain their advanced fleet technology in secret for so long. But the truth was becoming clear. The humans were not a myth. They were real. They had returned. And now, the galaxy would have to face the consequences of their resurrection. The fleet's first wave arrived on the outer rim of the galaxy, sending ripples of panic through the alien governments. The ancient ships, with their powerful weapons and advanced systems, easily dismantled the outer defenses, sending signals that they were not to be ignored. The alien species who had once believed the humans to be a simple myth were now faced with an undeniable truth. Earth was not a fairy tale, and it was no longer a forgotten relic of the past. The humans were back, and their fleet was unstoppable. As the ships from Earth moved closer to the heart of the galaxy, the question remained: how had the humans survived for so long? How had they managed to rebuild their fleet and restore the power that once made them a myth? No one knew the answer, but one thing was clear: Earth was no longer a forgotten myth. It was very real, and it was about to shake the foundations of the galaxy. The age of humans was not over. It was only just beginning. The galaxy was on edge. After the shocking revelation that Earth's ancient fleet was real, the balance of power was teetering. The Galactic Council had underestimated the humans for centuries, dismissing them as nothing more than a myth. Now their ancient fleet had returned, and it was impossible to ignore. The humans weren't just a forgotten race. They were a force capable of reshaping the galaxy. As the fleet continued its journey deeper into the galaxy, Earth's presence was felt everywhere. The once dismissed myth was now the focal point of galactic leaders. The question that everyone in the galaxy was asking was, why now? Why had the humans waited so long to reveal themselves? Back on Earth, the survivors of the ancient civilization had long prepared for this day. They had kept themselves hidden, preserving the knowledge and technology of their ancestors, waiting for the moment when they could rise again. They had watched the galaxy grow and expand, but they had remained in the shadows, out of sight. Now, that moment had arrived. The humans who had once ruled the stars were back, and they were prepared for whatever came next. The leaders of Earth's fleet understood the enormity of their task. They were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for their legacy. They were fighting to show the galaxy that they had not been forgotten, and that the humans were still capable of shaping the future of the stars. But they knew they couldn't do it alone. The galaxy's other races would not welcome them back with open arms. To the Council, the humans were a threat, and they would do everything in their power to stop them. As Earth's fleet advanced, the first major confrontation took place when they encountered a group of Xel'Ni warships. The Xel'Ni were known for their strength and their imposing war fleets. They had held sway over vast regions of space for centuries. Their reputation was unmatched. But when they came face to face with Earth's fleet, they were unprepared for the scale and power of the human ships. The battle was intense. The XL9, armed with their advanced plasma weapons and hyper-powered energy shields, immediately engaged Earth's fleet, but Earth's ships responded with terrifying precision. The ancient technology that powered their fleet was far beyond anything that XLNA had ever encountered. The XLNA ships, though mighty, were no match for the humans' superior tactics and weaponry. The human fleet struck fast and decisively, tearing through the XLNA ships with brutal efficiency. The XLNA commander, caught off guard by the overwhelming force of Earth's fleet, issued a retreat. They had never faced an enemy like this before, an enemy that combined ancient technology with a ruthless battle strategy. The humans had emerged victorious, but this was only the beginning. The Galactic Council's reaction was swift. In their haste to understand what was happening, they had overlooked one crucial detail. The humans had been planning for this moment for centuries. Earth's fleet, though old, was formidable. The humans had not only revived their ancient ships, they had adapted them. The fleet had been upgraded with technologies that were far more advanced than even the most sophisticated weapons in the galaxy. But it wasn't just the ships themselves that made Earth's fleet so powerful. It was the humans' ability to unite their forces, to rally behind a single cause, and to outthink and outmaneuver their opponents. In the wake of the Selene defeat, the Council quickly realized they had underestimated the humans. The leaders of the galaxy's most powerful factions, the Vontros, the Turgan, and the Texelinae, gathered in a secret meeting. Each faction had its own agenda, but they all agreed on one thing. The humans could not be allowed to regain their place in the galaxy. If Earth's fleet was allowed to continue its march, it would mean the end of their supremacy. The decision was made. The Galactic Council would unite, not just to defend their territories, but to eliminate the human threat once and for all. The Council's forces began to mobilize, sending their most elite fleets to confront Earth's forces head-on. They knew it would be a difficult battle, but they believed they had the numbers and firepower to overwhelm the humans. They didn't fully understand the human strength, but they were willing to risk everything to stop them. Back on Earth, the fleet's leaders were preparing for the inevitable confrontation. They knew the Council would come for them. The time for diplomacy had passed. The galaxy would not accept their return without a fight, and the humans were ready to give it. The fleet was more than just a military force. It was a symbol of humanity's resilience. It was proof that the human race was not gone, that they had not been forgotten, and that they would not allow themselves to be erased from history. The humans had spent centuries preparing for this moment. They had studied the ancient texts, repaired the old ships, and built new weapons. They had tapped into the deepest recesses of their ancestors' knowledge, and now it was time to use that knowledge to secure their place in the galaxy. The fleet was not just a tool of war. It was a reminder of humanity's potential, of what they had once achieved, and what they could achieve again. As Earth's fleet moved forward, they encountered more resistance. The galaxy's factions had sent their most formidable forces to stop them. The Vontros, known for their speed and cunning, struck quickly, but Earth's fleet was always one step ahead. The Turgan, with their powerful energy-based weapons, tried to break through Earth's shields, but they were met with counterattacks that left their ships in ruins. Every battle was a testament to the human skill and determination. They were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for their future. The human fleet's commanders were united in their purpose. They knew that every victory brought them closer to reclaiming what had been lost. Earth's place in the galaxy was not a gift. It was something that had been earned. The humans were no longer a myth. They were a reality. And they were ready to show the galaxy that their legacy was far from over. As the battles raged on, the galaxy began to take notice. The humans, once thought to be nothing more than a forgotten race, had returned with a vengeance. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The question was no longer if Earth's fleet could win, but how the galaxy would adapt to the return of the humans. Would they be able to resist, or would they accept the inevitable? Only time would tell, but one thing was clear. The humans were not going to fade into the background again. They were here to stay. As the humans' fleet pressed deeper into the galaxy, the atmosphere among the galactic factions grew increasingly tense. Earth, once thought to be a forgotten and mythical world, had become a new power in the galaxy, and its rise could not be ignored. The Galactic Council, once a united front of the galaxy's greatest powers, had become divided. While some of its members called for diplomacy, others pushed for a full-scale war to eliminate the growing threat of Earth. Despite the pressure from the Council, the humans had made it clear that they were not seeking conflict. They simply wanted to reclaim their rightful place in the galaxy. They had spent centuries in isolation, working tirelessly to preserve their history and technology, and now they were back to show that they still had a role to play in the universe. But the galactic powers would not simply let the humans re-enter the fold without resistance. The very idea that a small, forgotten race could challenge the established order was unthinkable to many. The first few battles had already proven the humans' might, as their ancient fleet had taken down some of the galaxy's most formidable warriors. However, the galactic powers had begun to regroup and reassess their approach. The unexpected strength of Earth's fleet had shaken them to their core, and they realized they had underestimated the humans' technological advances and unity. It became clear that this was no ordinary threat. The humans' ancient fleet, though centuries old, was far more advanced than anyone had predicted. The Council's response was swift. The Vantros, a race known for their cunning and tactical brilliance, immediately began to develop strategies to outmaneuver the human fleet. They sent specialized reconnaissance ships to gather more information on Earth's fleet, trying to uncover any weaknesses they could exploit. Meanwhile, the Turgan, with their massive warships and powerful energy weapons, began to rally their forces, preparing for the possibility of a full-scale war. They knew that if the humans were allowed to continue their march, they would lose their dominance in the galaxy. The XLNI, once humiliated by their defeat at the hands of Earth's fleet, joined forces with the other factions. Together, they began to form a coalition, one that would bring the full force of the galaxy's might against the humans. But what they failed to understand was that the humans were not only powerful in terms of technology, they were also united by something stronger than military might: the will to survive and to reclaim their place in the galaxy. On Earth, the situation was different. The human leadership, now firmly in control of the ancient fleet, knew that the galaxy would not allow them to simply coexist. Their return was a declaration, and they would face a fight for their survival. But the humans were not afraid. They had endured centuries of isolation, and they knew how to fight for what was rightfully theirs. The fleet, despite being ancient, was equipped with technology so advanced that it could withstand the most vicious of assaults. The humans had perfected their weapons, their defenses, and their strategies over the years, knowing that this day would come. The human fleet continued to press forward, gaining ground in the outer rim of the galaxy. Their ships moved swiftly, their weaponry devastatingly precise. Despite the overwhelming forces gathering against them, the humans held their own. Each battle was a fierce struggle, but Earth's fleet fought with a determination that seemed to defy the odds. The fleet was not merely a collection of ships. It was a symbol of humanity's resilience. The humans fought not just for victory, but to prove that they had a place in the stars once more. The Council, seeing the humans' resolve and their unwavering ability to adapt, began to panic. For the first time in centuries, they realized they might be facing something they couldn't control. The humans' return was not just a physical threat. It was a challenge to the very idea of galactic supremacy. If Earth could rise from the ashes of its past, what did that say about the foundation of the galaxy's power structure? Could other forgotten races rise as well? Could the Council's rule be challenged? In the midst of this turmoil, the Council decided to launch its most decisive move yet. A grand fleet was assembled, combining the most powerful ships from each of the major factions. Their goal was clear: crush the humans before they could pose a real threat. But as they prepared for their assault, they discovered something that made the human fleet even more dangerous than they had anticipated. Earth's fleet had not only maintained its advanced weapons and technology, but they had also developed a new kind of weapon, a weapon that could potentially change the course of the galaxy. This new weapon was based on an ancient form of energy manipulation, something the humans had rediscovered from their ancestors. It was a weapon capable of manipulating the fabric of space itself, bending gravity, and creating singularities powerful enough to tear entire fleets apart. The humans had kept this weapon hidden, waiting for the right moment to reveal it. And now that moment had come. The Council had never encountered anything like it before. As the battle for the galaxy's future approached, the leaders of the Galactic Council began to fear the full scale of what they were up against. The humans were not merely defending their survival, they were fighting for the right to shape the galaxy's future. And with the power of their ancient fleet and their new weapon, the humans had the means to do just that. As Earth's fleet closed in on the core of the galaxy, the battle lines were drawn. The galactic powers had united against Earth, but they were facing a force they didn't fully understand. The humans, once considered a myth, had become a reality, and they were not backing down. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Would the humans be crushed under the weight of the Galactic Council's combined might? Or would they prove that the legends of Earth were not just stories, but a living truth? Only time would tell, but one thing was certain. The age of humanity had just begun, and it would not be easily forgotten. The galaxy would never be the same again. As Earth's fleet continued to advance, ready to make its stand, the galaxy braced itself for the most important battle in its history. The question was no longer if the humans could reclaim their place, but how far they would go to secure it. The final battle was fast approaching, and the galaxy was on the brink of an all-out war. The Galactic Council had united its forces, sending their most formidable fleets to face the humans. They had learned to respect the humans' resilience, their advanced technologies, and their unity. Earth's fleet had already proven its might in several skirmishes, and now, the galaxy was preparing for a confrontation that would decide the fate of the galaxy for generations to come. As Earth's fleet entered the heart of the galaxy, the Council's forces waited, poised and ready for the final showdown. The vaunted galactic forces, each with their own strengths, were ready to confront the humans, whose very presence had sparked fear across the stars. The stage was set for the ultimate conflict, but as the two sides prepared to clash, a strange calm seemed to wash over the humans. They were not rushing into battle like the galactic forces had expected. They weren't frantically scrambling for their advantage. Instead, the humans appeared collected, focused, as if they had already made their decision long ago. The leaders of Earth's fleet knew that this was not just a fight for survival. This was the culmination of their legacy, the moment they had waited centuries for. The humans were not simply fighting to win. They were fighting to reclaim their place in the stars. The galaxy had forgotten them for too long, dismissed them as a myth. Now they were back, stronger than ever, and they weren't going to allow anyone to strip them of their rightful place. The battle began as the human fleet made its move. The first wave of galactic ships, led by the powerful Turgon warships, advanced toward the humans. The Turgon fleet was massive, armed with advanced energy weapons and reinforced shields. They fired their first salvo at Earth's fleet, expecting to tear through the ancient ships with ease. But what the Turgon didn't anticipate was the speed and precision with which Earth's ships responded. The humans had adapted their tactics over the years, and they knew how to outmaneuver their enemies. The ancient ships, once considered outdated, now moved with a deadly efficiency. Each strike from Earth's fleet found its mark, and the Turgon ships began to retreat, their shields faltering under the relentless assault. The battle was far from over, but it was clear that the humans were not to be underestimated. The Turgon commanders issued orders to regroup, but the damage had already been done. Their first engagement with Earth's fleet had been a failure, and their forces were in disarray. As the Turkan fleet pulled back, the next wave of attackers arrived. This time, it was the Vantros, renowned for their speed and agility. Their ships darted through space, evading Earth's firepower with impressive precision. They launched a barrage of missiles, hoping to overwhelm the human fleet. But once again, Earth's ancient ships were more than capable of responding. The Vantros may have been fast, but the humans' technology was older, wiser, and more adaptive. The ancient ships' weapon systems fired with a devastating power that no one had anticipated, hitting the Vantros with unerring accuracy. The Vantros, too, began to falter, retreating in the face of Earth's relentless onslaught. The humans, though heavily outnumbered, showed no sign of slowing down. The battles were short but brutal. The humans struck quickly, efficiently, and without hesitation. They had the element of surprise, and they used it to their advantage at every turn. By the time the final wave of the galactic fleet, the HFY, arrived, the humans had already dealt a severe blow to the combined forces of the Council. The HFY, despite their size and power, were now wary of Earth's ancient fleet. Their warships were enormous, with thick armor and devastating weapons. But the humans had anticipated this final confrontation. Their ships moved into position, their weapons charged and ready. The HFY fired first, launching their most powerful weapons at the humans. But as the massive energy blasts hurtled toward Earth's ships, something unexpected happened. The humans activated their most powerful weapon, the energy-manipulating device they had rediscovered from their ancestors. It wasn't just a weapon. It was a force of nature, capable of bending space and time itself. With a flick of a switch, the humans unleashed the device. The fabric of space around the HFY fleet warped. Gravity fluctuated, pulling the HFY ships off course, their movements erratic and unpredictable. One by one, the HFY ships were pulled into unstable gravitational fields, causing massive explosions as their own ships collided with one another. It was chaos, and within moments, the HFY fleet was in disarray, their forces scattered and crippled. The humans had won, but the battle was not over yet. The remaining galactic fleets, now severely weakened, rallied together, preparing for a final stand. They knew that if Earth's fleet could win here, it would mean the end of the Council's rule and a new era in the galaxy. But the humans, with their ancient fleet and unyielding will, were prepared for whatever came next. As the final confrontation drew near, the leader of Earth's fleet, Admiral Aria, addressed her commanders. She reminded them that this fight wasn't just for them. It was for humanity's future. The humans had been written off as a myth, as a forgotten race, but now they were here to reclaim what was rightfully theirs. Their ancestors had once ruled the stars, and it was time for the humans to rise once again. The final battle would be fought in the heart of the galaxy, near the very core of the Council's power. The humans knew the stakes were higher than ever. This was not just a battle for survival, it was a fight for their future. If they were to succeed, they would need to use every ounce of their strength, every bit of their knowledge, and every piece of their ancient fleet's power. As Earth's fleet prepared for the ultimate confrontation, the galaxy held its breath. Would the humans be able to reclaim their place in the stars, or would the Council crush them once and for all? The battle for the galaxy's future had come down to this final moment, and everything was on the line. The fate of the galaxy would be decided here, in the shadows of the stars, as Earth's ancient fleet faced off against the might of the Galactic Council.